Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to Propaganda with Mick and Jacob. One thing that comes up a lot is the divide between men and women. So throughout all of history, this has always been a topic, a debate in cultures and places around the world, right? But specifically in Gen Z, specifically in America, there is a extreme divide between young men and young women. What they prefer, who they vote for, what they enjoy doing, where they see themselves in life. Millennials too, but specifically Gen Z, there's a divide. And I found something that was extremely interesting, and it's a poll from NBC from last month. And it dives into a bunch of different topics on the difference between men and women, where they see themselves, where the other group sees the other group. It's kind of interesting, and I feel like it helps explain too where Gen Z feels we are. Okay, so this is a poll from NBC News, specifically from age 18 to 29, which 29 is...
I don't think that's Gen Z. We're having millennials creep in. I don't know if I trust this anymore.
Yeah. Millennials are creeping in. But think about it, it's 2026. About to be. That's 1997. That's like...
Oh.
That's very, very... If
very
you're trying to
close,
argue Gen Z,
yeah.
that's very, very on the edge. So...
Okay, fine, whatever, fine.
But 18 to 27, 18 to 26, that's totally Gen Z. You yourself are...
Yeah, I know. I'm getting up there.
No, I'm just messing. That's pretty Gen Z. Okay, so they talk about Trump. They talk about his policies. They talk about the workplace. They talk about what's important. So Trump's approval overall and on the issues among Gen Z, right? So the percent of respondents who somewhat or strongly approve of President Trump's job performance. Overall, male 47% approve, female 26% approve. Border security and immigration, 46-24. Deportations and immigration, 45-21. Trade, 42-23. Inflation and cost of living, 41-21. So overall, not even close. Almost double of men. Almost 2 times the amount of men approve of Trump as do women. So that's just like overall, that's some of his bigger policies, right? You know what I find interesting too is that a lot of people on the far right are less and less approval of Trump as well. So this is like, that's not even just like libs. That doesn't mean like on the 47 to 46, that doesn't mean that 53 and 54% of like liberal men are disagreeing. That means like there's a good amount of conservative, Republican, far right men who are disapproving of Trump too, which I think is interesting. Less than a quarter of women are approving with him. And as you can see here, the 26% of women approve overall. But that's the highest one. Everything is less than that, you know? So ladies, you need to get your act together.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I feel like women... We're very emotional. And that's not a bad thing. It's not emotional in the way
No.
We feel emotions deeply. So I feel like the left is easily able to cater to that when they have their...
Yeah, that's totally fair.
You know, like, oh no, it's bad to separate families when you send them back to Mexico. Yeah, it is. It's very sad, but you have to look deeper than that.
Yeah.
And then the study also asks these people, Gen Z, how often do you feel anxious or worried about the future? And I think you know where this is leading. Almost all the time, only 19% of men feel anxious or worried about the future.
1 in 5.
That's crazy. 33% of women feel anxious about the future. Most of the time, 27. Okay, so this is a little further up, but most of the time, men, 27%, women, 33%. Sometimes,
A lot closer.
39% of men and women are 28%. So now we're dipping into, and then rarely, 12% of men, 4% of women, never, 3% of men, 1% of women say they never feel anxious or worried about the future.
So the less the severity of your worries and your anxiety goes, the more men are represented in it, right? So like I'm absolutely terrified and worried and anxious about everything, it's like women are higher than men. That's what it's saying?
Yep.
Yeah. But that doesn't say like specifically political, that just says your future.
Your future.
Which there is a lot to be worried about and anxious about, but that's crazy that like
Actually,
even then it shows divide.
yeah, we're just feeling opposite things.
But it's not bad. It's not bad that men and women are different.
Yeah,
I think that's like the thing a lot of people will get upset about And the left specifically is upset about that because they want men and women to be exactly the same. And that's not how it is. Men and women have differences.
We're very wired differently.
Obviously. That's how it is. That's good, actually, you know?
I think the one thing that we really wanted to talk about was thoughts on children.
Yeah, that's this last part of the study that I think shows such a big part. So one of the last thing the polling covers here is which of the following is important to your personal definition of success. And it has 3 categories. It has female who voted for Harris, male who voted for Harris, and female who voted for Trump. So specifically what we want to talk about is getting married, having kids, family, like the stuff that's important to us, right? So there's 13, you can rank things in 13 ways, 1 through 13. Female who voted for Harris, they voted being married and having children as 11th and 12th out of 13. Men who voted for Harris, being married and having children 9 and 10 out of 13. So men and women who both voted for Kamala, they voted being married and having children as 9th and 10th for men and 11th and 12th for females. So that's really, really low on the list. That's what's important to them. That's their definition of success.
What was their number 1?
Number 1 for women was having a job or career you find fulfilling. Number 1 for men, having a job or career you find fulfilling.
Okay.
So number 1 and 2 are the exact same. Then the last category, it does show male as well here. It shows male here as well at the end. I didn't see this. The female who voted for Trump, having children, is number 6. So
that's still kind of lower than I would have expected.
It is lower.
Yeah.
What's interesting though is their being married is number 9th. So women who voted for Trump is the same importance of personal success as men who voted for Kamala in the category of being married.
Being married is lower than having children?
Yeah.
What?
So, and what this shows here is women who voted for Harris, what this shows here is anyone who voted for Harris, being married is more important than having kids. And everyone who voted for Trump, having kids is more important than being married, which is interesting.
That's really not good, in my opinion.
Which way? I don't think you should
Trump, sorry. The woman
I don't think you should have kids without being married.
Correct, right. Why does having kids matter more than getting married? I think you should want to start your life with someone first before even thinking about having kids.
Yeah.
See, that's okay. This is a whole thing. I rant about this. That's why I think so many I know this wasn't Christian women, but a lot of Christian women get married because they want to accomplish something else. They don't want to just get married. They want to get married and they want to have sex. They want to get married and they want to have kids. They don't want to just get married to spend the life with this person. And they don't get married because they're ready to start a life with someone. They get married because they want to have kids.
Okay, but what is your personal definition of success? When you look back in life, are you going to be do you think you'll be more successful because of the fact that you're married or the fact that you had kids? I guess I'm also looking at it as like how you measure success is like most people is like when they're dying, they're like looking back on their life.
Happiness.
You know? Right. It's not about the money you make or whatever, you know what I mean? The trip you take. It's like when people are on their deathbed, like what do they think looks back on life and like made them successful? You know, that's what I'm picturing it as. I guess a lot of these people could be interpreting it as right now.
I think a lot of people think short
right
term.
right.
I don't think they think long term.
That's fair then, you know? What's not fair is that being married and having kids is so low on their list. That's ridiculous. But yeah, I guess when you're 18 and 19, it's not as important. I get that. So like this isn't to show like what's right or wrong. This is more, I think, to show like the crazy gap between men and women and then people who voted for Kamala versus people who voted for Trump. Mm-hmm. So the most shocking category here, of course, is men who voted for Trump. Having children is the most important thing to them for personal success. It's number 1 on the list.
Wow.
Then achieving financial independence. Then having a job or career you find fulfilling. Then being married is 4th on the list.
See, that's still kind
of crazy difference from the women who voted for Kamala, men who voted for Kamala, and even the women who voted for Trump. There's a big difference. Being married is 4 ranks higher for men than it is for women, and having kids is 5 ranks higher.
So then
that's crazy.
Then do you think that the woman that voted for Trump and the woman that voted for Harris, you know, I'm gonna take just specifically the woman that voted for Trump because we're like those people, the women would probably be more likely to get married and they have a lot of the same values, you know. do you think that those women are thinking of external factors and taking those into consideration more than the men? Do you think they have
Maybe.
a better understanding of what it means to have children?
No, not at all. Women have been lied to. Women in Gen Z have been lied to their entire lives, saying kids are terrible, they're expensive, they're the worst things ever. Why would you want that responsibility? Why would you want that time? Why do you want to make those sacrifices? Their entire lives. Men and women have been fed it. I think women believe it a little bit more, and have definitely been fed it a little bit more.
But the lie there is that they're a terrible thing. It's not a lie.
They're
to
not
say,
a terrible thing.
No, I know. The one lie there is that they're a terrible thing to have.
Yeah, but they believe that.
Correct, but it's not a lie to say that they're a lot of money and that they're a huge responsibility.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem, is that they throw some truth in there with the lie, and then everyone's like, whoa, 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 children are a blessing. Yes, they are a blessing, but you still have to take into consideration they are still a sacrifice responsibility.
Yeah.
And it is a human
But people
being.
are afraid of that. It's
Right, that's
whether or not
right.
it's a lie, people are afraid that they have to sacrifice or take responsibility, or they can't go on a vacation this year now because they have a kid, or they have to pay for extra stuff like diapers and food. Like, people
Right, because
believe that they don't want to do that.
the lie in there that children are a terrible thing. If you were to say, yes, it's a sacrifice, yes, it's a responsibility, but it's a blessing and worth it in the end, I think that would change a lot of people's perspective. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We do have to be honest with ourselves, and I think a lot of women are, that it's a commitment, and it changes your life forever. That is a very scary thing when you've known one thing and then you're going to change it forever. You know what I mean?
But you can see it there. A lot of women would rather have a fulfilling job, which doesn't mean anything, and a successful career or make a lot of money than they would rather be married or have kids. That's crazy.
Yes, but I'm saying I think they're more aware of the sacrifice that it takes to have a kid than the sacrifice it takes to have a job. And I think because the lie we're fed, it's not worth it. But I'm saying I think they're maybe more aware than the men who support Trump that it is a big responsibility. I think a lot of men want to have a kid, and that's awesome, but then they don't think long term, and they think, oh, right, I have to be a dad. I have to show up and be a dad. I don't think a lot of men understand what it's like to show up as a father.
True. That's true.
And I don't think they understand the sacrifice the women go through having a kid.
Right. But
Not saying
also,
all, but I think a lot of men.
A lot of men, the men who will know how to be fathers and had good examples, a lot of them voted for Trump already. It's the group that wants kids is the group that had, and this is like, you guys can cry about this all you want. The men who voted for Kamala, the left, the minorities, whatever, who voted for Kamala, they, as a group, don't want kids as much as the men who voted for Trump. And the men who did vote for Trump, they had way better father figures in their lives, way better relationships with their dads, not even close, right?
Correct,
And you can
yeah.
take this is not racist at all. You can take this and just look at the black community. Black men overwhelmingly voted for Kamala than they did for Trump, right? Black men have the highest fatherless rate in the country. By any other race, any other ethnicity, any other group, it's not even close, right? And I know that's nitpicking one group, correct? But that's one group who overwhelmingly voted for Kamala, and having kids is way, way, way lower on their list, right? So you're saying men don't know how to be fathers or are confused by what that means. And I'm saying, yeah, that's true, especially in our generation. That is true. But the overwhelmingly amount of men who voted for Trump at least have a better foundation for it or have a better understanding of what it would be.
Yeah, totally
Does that
agree.
make sense?
Yeah.
Are you getting what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally agree. I was saying maybe the difference that we're seeing between the Trump supporter, the female Trump supporters, and then the male Trump supporters is, I think you were getting at that maybe the women are a little more selfish.
They are. 100%.
They can be, but maybe it's external factors that have a play in it. Maybe, like I
100%.
was saying, maybe they have a better, not that the men have no understanding, maybe they have a better understanding of what the sacrifice and responsibility means.
And women have the kids. Women go through the trauma
Right.
and the stress and all that. 100%, I
Right.
get that. And that's why I'm saying they focus way more, the left, the culture, whatever. They focus way more on targeting the women than they do the men.
Right.
They're not going to say, oh, men, it's so hard on your body when men aren't the ones having the kids,
Yeah.
you know? It's way easier to lie about it or to even, like you're saying, some parts of it are true. It's a sacrifice, it's responsibility, it's more money. It's way easier to put that on the woman and have them believe it and value that more than the men, you know? Mm-hmm. The men are going to want kids regardless. Mm-hmm. At least the men who voted for Trump. Whereas women, you can say, oh, it'll ruin your body, it'll ruin your life, all your hormones are wrecked, all this and that, which that is true to a certain extent as well. You know?
It is true, yes.
Um,
But that's what I was trying to say, that they then throw the lie in there at the end that children are terrible, therefore it's not worth it.
Right.
Where if you were to say, yes, that is all true. It does ruin your body. I'm sorry, it just does. It messes you up for a very, very long time. But children are a blessing, and it's worth it. I think that would change a lot of people's perspectives. It definitely helps with mine.
the left is trying to say kids are bad, they're not worth it, don't have them. The women who do have them regret it, when in fact all reality and all studies show the exact opposite. Women that don't have kids regret it. Women that are on their deathbeds and don't have anyone around them regret it, you know? It's some crazy high percent, like 90-something% of women that didn't have kids and they're past the past the childbearing age regret it. They do. You know? They're convinced, they're lied, they get caught up in their career, and this happens to men too, 100%. If there's a single man who's by his deathbed right now and he doesn't have kids, he's gonna regret it just as much, you know? It's not to just focus right now on the women or anything. You will regret not having kids. Not everyone. It's not for everyone. I 100% get that. And you're right. A circle we do come from. It's everyone has to have kids no matter what. It's God's plan for your, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I would say for the vast, vast, vast majority of people, it 100% is God's plan to have kids. You know? Or if you don't believe in Christianity or religion or a higher being at all, you should at the very least believe that it's good for you personally, it's good for your family, it's good for your community, it's good for the future sake of the earth. We need kids, you know? Like, you should at the very least agree with that. Also, another point I've heard brought up a lot, which I think is really fair too, is if you are not called to be a biological father or mother, you can adopt, you can mentor or father another, like a younger group, or teach, or like whatever, you know? But I think in a sense we are all called to at least some sort of parental, whether that's fatherhood or motherhood, you know, way of like teaching and instructing those underneath us, whether or not they're your biological children or not. So I think a lot of people, especially on the left and in our generation, would disagree with that too, because they just want to do what they want to do. They want to have time and freedom and money, and they want to go do this and spend on this and not have to worry about that. They want to leave their cats for a week with their little automatic feeder so they can go and do whatever. They can't do that when they have kids, you know, they can't whatever. So people don't want to make that sacrifice. And I know Gen Z right now is a little bit younger of a generation, but they're including age 29. By the age of 29, 30, okay, like once you're getting past there, you're not going to like this. They're including age 29. That's around the time you should probably start having kids. And for the vast majority of history, humans had kids much younger than that. Way younger. But you look at like millennials and our parents' generation, they start having kids around 30, you know? Like Gen Z is apparently now, we're up to 29 now. They're not even interested in
I
it.
don't know if I
I think that's a little bit more
It's
millennial.
a little old, yeah.
But it's there. And Gen Z is getting older.
We are. I forget that we're not
And-
in yeah.
Right. It's not
High school.
2020 anymore.
Right.
You know? This isn't COVID lockdown era of high school. Like, we're adults now. And I'm not saying everyone should have a kid in the next year. But, like, it's a good example of the difference it shows between people's values. And the male-female divide, the left-right divide, it obviously comes up there. But
Having kids should be ranked higher, especially what's more concerning for me is that the children the interest in having kids is ranked higher than getting married. I think that's what's concerning. And I do see it in my generation. Everyone wants to have children. I'm actually shocked that it's number 6 for women that support Trump, because I could not name a single friend that I have that would tell me, I'd rather have a fulfilling career than have a kid. So I'm shocked it's number 6, and then I'm shocked that marriage comes after it.
yeah.
I don't understand.
But you also have to look at what they took from us too. Like, not that many people have kids, you know? Not that many marriages are successful. Half of them end in divorce, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I think marriage is a lot less appealing to a lot of people because they know it's going to end in a divorce half the time, you know?
That's true.
Um,
But then be more selective when you're dating and when you're choosing a
Yeah,
husband.
true.
I think that's concerning because a lot of people want to have kids. Again, like I said, people want to do something else with marriage, and they're not just happy with marriage in and of itself. And they're
Well, also think a lot of people who aren't Christian also voted for Trump, and they might not have the same ideals and values of marriage first and then kids. You know,
Yep.
they might just think yes, kids are super important, which they totally are.
Yep.
Kids are important. You know, but if they're not Christian or saved or religious, then they will not, most likely, will not hold the fact that you need to have marriage first before you have kids.
That's true. I forget that. Yeah, you're right. I forget that.
What I thought is interesting is across all four groups, fame and influence is number 13 on all of them, which I find really weird because we are the most vocal, outgoing social media online group of any generation.
Yeah.
So we're all putting ourselves out there 24/7 all the time. But yet we all say we don't want to have fame or influence, you know?
I think we're burnt out now. I think we're
I know,
so
and I think
sick
it's
of it.
I think it's true. I think deep
Yeah.
down people want to just live just whatever, just they don't want to be all over social media and all that stuff. But it's like we already do that. So it's like it's almost like fame and influence is already kind of being fulfilled because of how much activity our generation has on social media. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
what I'm
Oh
saying?
no. Absolutely. You have anyone can
Right.
go viral and
Right.
have their 5 seconds of fame. Anyone.
Like millennials and Gen X and like older, I wonder. I have no clue, right? I don't know if we have the studies right, but like I wonder if fame and influence was higher for them or where that ranked.
Well, that's exactly why we don't put up with celebrities bull anymore. We don't care. Like, okay, and
Right.
moving on. Like, I have a job and I want to build a legacy and I want to get married and have kids
Yeah.
or I want to have my own career and I'm focused on that.
Right.
I think that's why we don't have a lot of celebrities
Yeah. Also,
anymore.
not as much in Gen Z.
You know,
they're,
like, there's
they're all
no-
influencers though,
Right,
Which is
it-
like what we all are. So it's like
There's no emerging celebrities where they're just
yeah.
we're absolutely like foaming at the mouth for. There's no Michael Jackson. There's no
Right.
Britney Spears anymore. You have celebrities and you have people that we obviously we have celebrities. I'm not saying that, but there's
Yeah.
no widespread celebrity that's just a huge phenomenon and we just oh yes.
Yeah. What I think could be a factor too is our generation is not being honest with itself. And they're saying they're putting fame and influence at the bottom, even though they probably value it way more.
I don't want to be an influencer. What do you
Right.
mean? Yeah.
Like even that we're saying that now making a podcast. Not that it's saying it's chasing fame and influence, but like even right now we would say fame and influence is not important to us. But like
But
what are we
obviously
doing? We're
somewhat
putting
it
all of
is.
our stuff out there.
Right.
So like, and I think that's the same with the rest of our generation. They would be saying, "Oh yeah, it's not as important to me," but yet let me post every single story of every single thing I do 24/7. You know.
Yeah.
So it's definitely an interesting polling, an interesting study. You should go look at it. Take a second to think on it. Again, polls are polls. Doesn't mean it's all true. But I found it extremely interesting, and it's just funny too because it kind of shows I think what everyone already knows. Everyone knows family and having kids and being in a relationship and being married is way more important to conservative people. Okay, forget if it's Trump, forget if it's Kamala. Get rid of the candidates. Just take the sides: left, right, conservative, liberal. Okay. Family, having kids, raising a family, being a part of your community is way more important to people that are trying to conserve what they have, conserve the town or the city or the nation that they're in, you know? Whereas the left is a lot more progressive in, I just want to be in an open relationship. I want to marry this person. Actually, I don't want to get married. We'll just date and then we'll maybe get married and then we'll break up and then whatever, you know? Or we're going to marry multiple people or we're going to, you know what I mean? It's not as built, the left is not as built on having a family, getting married, raising kids into a community or a family or a religion. You know what I mean? It's not as important to them, I would say. So I just thought that was interesting too. Because like
It is.
when you see the two lesbians with blue hair walking down the streets with their dogs, you're like, oh, okay, there's the two lesbians with their dogs, so they don't have kids, right? And then you see like
Fur baby.
right, they're fur babies. And then you see like a nice young family with kids. You just, I don't know, it's weird. You like notice it, we don't like really think about it at all, but it's like
And
the
you can-
polling
you can
shows
guess-
it.
you
Right,
can
but
guess
the
who
polling
voted
the
for
polling
who,
shows
yeah.
it, right. So it's just funny. And that's not in every case. You know what I mean? You're taking the examples. But it's just funny to see.
One thing that our generation needs to be careful of, I'm just repeating myself at this point, but there's also there's importance in marriage when taking children out of it as well. I think a lot of the times people that the conservative side of Gen Z look up to, it always goes hand in hand. Get married, have kids. Get married, have kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people take having kids as the important part. It is. But I think we also need to put some more emphasis back on marriage.
100%.
I think it shows in the polls.
The
marriage
kids
is ranked lower.
Yeah, the kids in the family are nothing if the marriage is not solid and built on your shared values. You know, in our case, Christian values, right? Like, if you have 10 kids and then you get divorced, or you have 10 kids and your family's a mess and you're always fighting and yelling and whatever, that's not a good situation to have kids in.
Yeah.
Obviously, you should still have kids. Like, you need to have kids. But it's like, it is funny that we've kind of thrown out the marriage part of it.
We have.
It's not as important. It's not as valued. Oh, it's going to end in divorce anyways. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's not.
We almost find too much fulfillment in children.
That's not true.
No, yeah, it absolutely is true. Because you need to also find fulfillment in the marriage.
Yeah.
A lot of people...
Who's we?
Our generation. I'm referring back to the poll.
I would say, if you take it specifically, right-wing conservatives who don't have kids yet, who say they want to have kids, probably hold the kids more valued than a marriage. But I'm talking about the Trump supporters. Real, healthy, conservative Christian families that are married and have kids, they value their marriage, and then that everything stems from that, right? Their love for each other, right? Obviously, it's God first, but everything else falls under it. Their marriage with their wife and their kids that they have, raising them, all that together. I don't think they're just saying they value kids more than marriage. Like,
obviously they are. They're saying that kids are more important to them than getting married.
They think having kids is a greater definition of success than being married, is what they're saying. And
it's more fulfilling.
I'm agreeing, but when you say we, that's not Gen Z broadly. That's like I think specifically, you're talking about the group.
I'm talking about the Trump supporters, like we've been the entire time.
Okay.
So the female Trump supporters and the male Trump supporters that rank having children as more fulfilling and rank marriage lower than that, that's a problem. We're not putting enough emphasis on the hard work it takes to have a strong marriage. In turn, that's what gives you a happy family.
Yes. I was getting hung up on the details because you said we, and we were talking about Gen Z.
I know.
So I was thinking yes.
So right now I'm talking about the female Trump supporters and the male Trump supporters.
Yeah.
The conservative side of Gen Z.
Yes.
The fact that we rank marriage lower than having kids is problematic.
I agree.
Like I said, a lot of people, we hear having kids is important, getting married is important, and then we only take having kids as important. Which, if you set your mind on having a good marriage and finding someone that it's your person and you have the same values, that will come. The kids will come.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously it should be an interest of yours, a goal of yours. Mm-hmm. But first, let's put the horse in front of the carriage first. Let's have a good marriage, and then the happy family will come naturally.
You don't. I really like that. I was getting too hung up on details. I like what you're saying because that is. You're right. We don't value it, and you're right. Some people get they get married to try to fix dating problems, and then they have kids to fix marriage problems, and then you're divorced. It's like you can't raise the good family. You can't do that unless you're in a stable, loving, genuine marriage. Mm-hmm. That's based in something higher than yourself. So, yeah, that's a good point.
So we agree.
I like that. We do. I was too hung up on the details. I really like that. That's a good point. Yeah. No, and you're right. And it's women and men too. Like I was saying, the real life examples, the polls show it too. But you're right. It's men and women. Because it's funny when you ask, if you go around college campuses or you ask your buddies or your girlfriends or whatever, they're gonna say, having kids first in marriage. And it's weird that it's weird how normal it is that people don't say marriage. Having a successful marriage, being genuinely in love and with your other person. With you know what I mean. That's not as talked about. It's not as...
And that right there, it takes time. And I think we have a very impatient generation.
Yeah.
They want to have kids. They want to have that family. Okay, first fall in love, buddy. That takes time and that takes searching. Don't get married to the first person you date.
Yeah.
It can happen, but don't just say, all right, you're good enough. Let's go.
Right.
No,
and then
are you in love?
Have kids.
Right, and then have kids within the year.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. Good point. I like that.
What do you mean by we? What do you mean by we?
You were focusing on we were talking about Gen Z broadly, and then you started going into that. I was like, whoa, Gen Z does not value
Okay.
kids. You know what I mean? As we just saw, the left, specifically the Kamala voters, valued being married more than having kids because a lot of them don't want kids anyways. You know.
Yeah. I know we didn't talk about any current events. I actually had like a whole list of stuff I wanted to talk about, but we're already at half an hour.
We'll have to cover it next time. I think that was a good topic. I think it's important to, even though sometimes it's like broadly understood or noticed, it's good to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And I think the polls and real life examples, they all show it. But, and I don't know, that was not to always go back to Charlie Kirk, right? He wasn't like my favorite guy or whatever. Not to always go back to him, but what do you say? Get married, have kids, you know? And get married, have a genuine marriage, fall in love with that person, you know? Build a family together, have kids, raise them properly, you know? Give them a good example of what a marriage and a healthy relationship looks like. Be godly parents, you know?
And then the family will naturally come.
Mm-hmm. Don't buy the lie that the left in our culture gives us, that kids are evil and terrible and awful and they're not worth having and you'll regret it and this and that. It's not true. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Next episode, we'll talk about why Monster is bad for you.
Next episode, we're going to get a full Monster sponsorship on the podcast. So just be ready. But that's all we have for today.